Welcome to the Fort Johnson podcast. This episode is all about cybersecurity, one of the most important topics we can talk about today. Cybercrime is on the rise, and it's our job as citizens to stay informed and protected against potential threats. In this episode, we'll be exploring what cybersecurity is, why it matters, and how you can take steps to protect yourself from cybercriminals. We'll also be looking at the role of Fort Johnson's Directorate of Plans, Training, Mobilization, and Security plays in this important mission. So stay tuned for some intriguing insights. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this podcast. I am Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office, and we are here in the podcast studio with Michael Guijardo. Oh, hey, and there you go.
Yeah, turn on them. That's good.
It helps to hear when your mic's on.
Yeah.
How's it going, Mike?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. So how's it over there at DPTMS?
Busy. Personnel security, all those great kind of things that we do is always in demand and keeps us really busy.
Yeah. So have we been getting a lot of cyber threats lately?
Well, lately we've been seeing a lot of network stuff going on around the DoD, and I can only imagine that it's they're due to constantly updating to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen. So when you notice that when it starts to take away your capabilities, and of course it's always because they're just trying to improve their cybersecurity status.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of I try to keep up with it, and I do my cyber awareness every year, and I help them detect threats from the future.
Right, exactly.
I've been through so many of those. It's like I know all the answers before they come up. But it's some simple stuff that is really easy to take care of if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Be sure to scan things. It's like one of the best thing. Your passwords, don't make it something easy.
Right,
I've actually been told that, some of my things is don't use words that can be found in the dictionary. Use a combination of capital and lower, numbers and symbols, and the more the longer it is, the harder it is to crack it.
And we've seen that progress over the years as the Army, initially was introduced to now Microsoft Windows 94, 95, that we have progressed into a great, security posture where our password requirements to change them every 60 days or every 90 days based on what you do. And so, we see that becoming more prevalent with, hey, make sure your password is diverse and it's not unique and it's not something that you can identify with. It's great. And there's tools out there like password generators.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I use one. It's on my phone. So I have one master password, but it's also fingerprint.
Right.
So I use Bio to get into it, but that holds all of my password, so I don't have to use one that I can remember. I can have a randomly generated 15-character long one that makes no sense at all, and it's over 128K encryption.
Right.
So.
I have one the exact same way. I tell my wife all the time, because when we're sitting in the office and we're getting on a computer and we're going to, log into an app so we can watch a movie, and I'm like, what's your password? And I'm like, I don't remember. And I'm like, why don't you have a password saver? Because I have so many. And you generate so many different unique passwords to everything that you're not going to remember that stuff. It's crazy.
And from the past, which actually, believe it or not, it's the same thing even today. And these tactics are years old. I can figure out I can crack some people's passwords just by knowing who they are.
Right.
Step one, look under the keyboard.
Or the mouse pad.
Or on the monitor, look for sticky notes.
Oh, you've been in my office. Okay.
But some of these things are so easy, and you have to worry about how people are thinking. It's like you don't keep your password on your computer.
Right, exactly.
It's like leaving your ATM card for anybody to use.
Oh, right. Or just like your CAT card, you get up to go, to the bathroom, or you get up to go.
That is one of my pet peeves.
And
one of my pet peeves is redundancy. CAT card.
Yeah.
It's a common access card. So take it over to the ATM machine, put in your PIN number.
Yep, exact same one you used for that, and it probably worked. Absolutely.
No, I get that all the time. Though it's like people around here, if you say something they look at me just to see what my reaction's going to be. Anyway, yeah, the CAC. Now we have the CAC with the PIN, and
something you have, something you know.
That's two. That's what are they? Two token.
It's a two-part authentication.
Two-part authentication. Right. That's right. Other ones are you log in and then it sends a code to your phone. Yeah. You have authenticator apps that will randomly generate a number.
Exactly. That
is only good for like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, and you have to type that in. I've got them all.
Yeah,
I've got them all.
I've used them a lot in work in different, on different platforms that require certain security levels, and that's a good thing too, because a lot of people kind of underrate those type of devices or those type of apps, and they're great for keeping your data secure.
Oh yeah. And my first authenticator code or key was actually a little keychain that you would have to press the button and it was linked up to the program.
Right.
And this was for a video game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, why would you need something so secure? Because people will log in and steal your stuff.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you think about some of the bigger games that were coming out when 10 years ago with World of Warcraft or
that's what the Diablo, authenticator code was for.
These games, people spend, hours, if not months and years developing whatever character they're playing. And, and you got everything built into that so much that you have unique stuff. People want that and they can sell it if they can steal it or take it apart. So it became something of a concern that they decided, hey guys, we're going to put out an authenticator specifically for this game so that if somebody does steal your account, there's no way they're going to get into it if they don't have your number in that authenticator. And that works great because I used it when I was doing that, and it made perfect sense because people's accounts are getting jacked.
Yeah, constantly. It's horrible. And it's a bad feeling when
and that's a video game, so you can imagine what happens if
it's a bank account.
Right, exactly. Or, in your car,
your
you save
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So those things are lifesavers.
Yeah. The digital wallets is what worries me because you have to remember your password or passcode, get in there, and if you put it in too many times, it locks it, and you've lost everything that you have in that wallet. It's
right.
Like, oh, wonderful.
And that's the thing with cryptocurrency, those kind of authentications and the way they develop those passcodes that are unique to those accounts are massively long. And if you don't have the second piece to that to validate it, then, you're never going to get into that account.
I wonder if you
lose it.
I wonder if that counts as burning the coin.
Well, I've read many stories where people have had a fire in their house or something like that, or the house was burglarized, and those papers, those passcodes are gone. It can never be regenerated. It's a unique password done once. And if you don't have that second piece, you'll never see it.
Oh, wow.
It's done.
There you go.
So it's
Swiss
important.
Bank account is closed.
It's also important to have security as well for those things and redundancy, because if not, you could lose something for a good while, if not forever.
Absolutely. I always, that's why I like it on my phone, because I pay for the subscription. Mm-hmm. And that actually helps too, because when you replace your phone, you don't have to go back through and put every single one in.
And that's a good thing too, right? Because if you lose this device,
yep.
Your backup better be up to date. And that's another thing about cybersecurity is having backups and redundancies, because
and a backup to the backup.
Right. Anything can happen. And if you lose it, you've lost probably a lot of stuff that you've been working on. So I like the ability to buy a new phone and cross it back over and update it, and it's there, because I'm like, my password generator's on there, and if I don't get that, I'm in trouble at work.
Oh yeah,
all these other little things that I use it for. So these things can be very, very helpful.
Absolutely. And another some of these cybersecurity can be so simple. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's as simple as keeping your software up to date.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking about that before we walked in. Nowadays we're more digital and online, and you're seeing that in every aspect of any computer. You could just basically download the software and you're getting the latest and greatest. But think about those folks that go to Best Buy or go to Walmart and maybe they don't have the robust internet to download stuff. So they buy a computer that's been sitting there for who knows how long. So when you get that computer, the first thing you want to do before you start putting any kind of data on it is make sure that it's up to date.
Absolutely.
Because it's probably got a couple of patches that it hasn't seen since it's been sitting there at that store. And you don't want to just take it home and start running, with it.
And it's like every time there's something out there, there's somebody out there trying to crack it.
Oh, absolutely.
And as soon as and then there's somebody trying, or that's waiting for that crack, that goes back and fixes the leak and all. It's
Right.
like just.
You get those day zero viruses where nobody knew that was a vulnerability until it happened. And now you got to scramble to fix it while it's being, propagated throughout whatever. So, that's why software update, your antivirus update, even your router firmware, you got to keep all those things up to par.
Yeah, I was watching a game show last night, and the contestant on there was a lead penetration technician, which is the proper term for a legal hacker.
Exactly.
She was paid to hack people's computer systems,
White teams,
or their company's computer systems to make sure that they can fix anything that can be. If it can be cracked, we need to be able to fix it like right quick.
Yep, they do, and there's a lot of young folks and even older folks that are in that business because now it's also very lucrative. As a matter of fact, Google likes to use that on their platforms, and or Microsoft, they say, hey, if you can find a vulnerability, we're going to pay you. We're not paying you to try to find one. We're going to pay you when you do find one. And if depending on how vital that is, determines a lot about how much money they get paid. So they have those folks that are doing those sort of things are doing it a lot for a lot of different platforms because that's a good way to make money, but at the same time help the product. So
well, at the being a freelance cracker like that would be, or hacker would be a little iffy for me if I was able to do it. But it's like, hey, I was able to crack your account over there or your banking system over there. And it's like, okay, you're under arrest. What? Wait, no, I was trying to help.
Right. Now you want to be solicited first. You don't want to just go randomly do it to some bank and go, hey guys, I just did this. And they're like, okay, well that's.
I would like to let you in on a little secret.
So no, not the way to go about it. But there's also a lot of different other groups out there that do black hat or red hat. And, your red hat guys are not so much given with white hat type of penetrate testers. They're given the keys to the kingdom and then they get to go ahead and check everything out and see everything's set. But when you go with your black team penetrators, they're like, we're not going to show you anything. This is just the place you got to hit. And they go from there. So they learn about not only their weaknesses on that particular spot, but then, of course, there are layers of security leading up to that. So how did you get on the post? Or how did you get through my fence? How did you get past my dog? And then how did you get into my house and then my computer? So, you can take cybersecurity and really make it bigger. But, today is really something that you just want to talk about the close thing, your laptop, your PC right in front of you, and then you work your way out of there.
Yeah, we're really going to be in trouble when quantum computers come out.
Yeah, I think they already are, right?
Well, yeah, they're out, but they're not available. I saw, I follow I love technology and I love the whole advancement and stuff. And the quantum computer is really, really interesting to me. Excuse me. When we had they did some demonstrations for a quantum computer and they gave it a factorial or a number to fix or a problem to solve.
Right.
That would take a normal digital computer, about 100,000 years to fix or to solve.
Right.
And it solved it in a couple seconds. Nice. And it's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. It's
not only that, but the environment it can also generate virtual environments that we're now starting to see a lot of folks move into in designing and, replicating also in games and community socialization. Those things can generate and sustain that sort of environment for a lot of folks. And it's amazing what it can do and what they can do.
Cool. I can't wait for the Oasis to come out and be on Ready Player One.
and just sitting in a trailer, right?
Yeah,
or the junkyard.
What are you doing? I'm escaping.
Well, they're coming out. They already have the suits you can wear at home. It's
the haptic suits.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's a new one coming out. I believe it's next year for virtual reality. It's going to be pretty cool.
And it's an interesting thing that you mentioned that, because that kind of brings it into the Internet of Things, right? Everything that is attaching itself to your computer or to your network.
It's all worldwide.
Right. Your washer, your dryer, your refrigerator, the stuff you're wearing, your phones, those are all access points to your network, which you have the most sacred thing on is that computer that you work on and that you pay bills with and whatnot.
Yep.
So technology is just as vulnerable in that way as well. People wearing hearing aids or heart monitors, those are all, they can all be tied to a network and given statuses. Well, you can hack into those things if they're not properly secured and, of course, cause problems or maybe cause you not to hear.
It's like we're becoming the Borg.
Right. Slowly we're all being integrated.
We're all cyborgs now. I'm a cyborg now. I just got my implant turned on yesterday, so I'm battery operated.
Right. And then you got something right here that's just sending it out.
Yep. And it's attached to my phone, and my hearing aids are attached to my phone.
Exactly. And we're attached to our cars.
My car's attached to my phone.
Exactly. So imagine somebody hacking into your vehicle.
Oh, my watch. My watch is attached to my phone.
So it's, cybersecurity is very important, and you have to look at all the different avenues of approach to that, and try to mitigate as best as you can.
And there's people out there that'll find a way to hack into your computer because of a watch. It's like, oh man, there was a time when Fitbits weren't allowed on post because it was a hackable device or a tracking device.
It was a geolocator. Right?
Yeah,
exactly. And now, but with technology and the level of security that we're capable of producing, certain devices that are wireless are allowed now in certain areas, based on requirement, like a heart monitor, so there are ways that mitigate these things, and probably at a very high technical level, but we've gotten to that point where we're capable of doing that, but it starts with the simple stuff that we're talking about today for common user is, just check those normal things.
The first thing that I would do is, or the first thing I always do when I get something new, it usually comes with a default password.
Right.
Change it immediately.
Absolutely.
Or the same thing with when like even voicemail. The first thing it tells you to do is change the default, or you've gotten a new password, change it.
Right. Or it doesn't have one.
You've reset it. Yeah.
No, and that also brings up another good point is that for everybody that just has internet at home, usually when that gets set up, they have a default password to the router, or
I know what it is.
Right. Or they'll give it to you and you're like, oh, that's my name and what? So change it.
Yeah.
Ask them, hey, where do I go to make this happen? Because they won't give you the IP address to the router unless you ask for it. Some routers come with it, some don't, because you can actually Google a router IP.
192.168.1.1.
Right. And then I go into my router because I didn't have that information because I looked it up one time and I was like, well, what's the common password? Admin. And sure enough, it was. So this whole entire time, now I can get into a router that is supposed to be not allowing me to do that, and change my settings to be more secure, to see what devices are on my network as well, because that's another thing. How much stuff do you have on your network? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, and that's the scary thing, because usually the older people are having their kids set it all up because they're really good with that, and then the kids get in trouble or they get mad at you or something, so they just change the password to the network, and it's like, wait, whoa.
They have a back door they put in there when you lock them out. But that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in and see how many things are sitting on my network, and one, sucking up my bandwidth, or two, friends come over, relatives come over. All these folks come over to your house, and they're like, hey, you can just hook up to our Wi-Fi. Oh, yeah. But that device stays on there and recognizable so the next time it comes in. Well, what if they're outside your house and they're on your network and you don't know that?
The good thing is nowadays what I've seen a lot of is the router will have two different networks, or three.
Guest.
It'll have guest, and you could just put them on guest, and that they have a little extra layer in there.
Right, exactly. And that's something that people may or may not know. They just get told, hey, you got your two bandwidths, and there you go. Go in your router, create a guest account, and that way it limits perhaps how much it's using and what accesses it has. And then when they're gone, delete it.
Yeah.
get rid of it. Because I worked with the VA many years ago for just a very short time. We'd have to come up here to DeRidder to help provide services locally. And I said, well, what's the password? And he gave me the password so I can log in. Well, I was driving around one time and I was like trying to update my phone. I was like, you know what? I'll just go over here, park outside the building right next to the window and turn it and put my password into there. And sure enough, I'm on the network outside and I'm using it to update an app because it's taking forever and a day. So, that comes into password frequency in terms of changing it. And, when somebody leaves and goes, because when I left, they should have changed the password.
Yeah. And it should be a strong password.
Absolutely.
A strong password and a unique password. Like I say, don't use words that are in the dictionary. Use a combination of random uppercase, lowercase, symbols, and numbers.
Special characters, right.
And the more digits, the better. So
right. And, anywhere right now, 15, 16 is almost the standard for password length.
But yet the PIN is still pretty much 4.
Right. Or 6.
Or 6.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But, it's used in combination. So you first got to remember a 15, 16 letter password or numerical password and then have a PIN too. So you can add those layers and that just makes it even more secure. But
you got to make their jobs hard,
Got to remember all that stuff as well.
So another really important one that, a lot of people kind of get annoyed at, especially when you're trying to install something or if you're just doing a quick scan, it shows up as a potentially unwanted program or a pup,
right.
is antivirus. Mm-hmm. There's now we're getting all kinds of different antiviruses where, we get the ones that you download, you get the ones that you install, and then we get the ones that are online.
Right. Or the ones that come with programs already built in.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's a various amounts of different types of antiviruses. So looking at, Windows does provide a great antivirus system, but you can also put multiple antivirus programs on your computer and work out the deconfliction because you're adding the same type of program, but multiple layers within that same idea of preventing a virus because one may be better at something else that this one's not. So you can supplement them that way as well. And by all means, do your research on.
At home, I have 2.
Right.
2 different antiviruses on my computer.
Yeah.
And no viruses.
Right, exactly. And it works. People used to think, well, maybe back in the day, since there were 2 different, they would conflict and make things crash.
Yeah.
No, they work really good or hand in hand, and that's where we're going.
Now, one of the things that isn't brought up a lot, but I've actually become a very big fan of is VPN. Mm-hmm. VPN is, for anyone out there, is a virtual private network.
Right.
And it masquerades the IPs that you're going to.
Yes.
It says you're always going to this one IP, and that's it. That's the only one you're going to, and then that sends it out.
Right.
How is that for cybersecurity, or am I just wasting my money?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, VPN always used to just be associated with the computer at home or at work, and that's the backbone of a lot of security support. But you have VPN uses on your phone now. So if you want to encrypt your messaging, you want to keep your messages encrypted, you can utilize a VPN. And they're not very difficult to set up. They're, almost like a turnkey type of program. And it's very important when you're doing a lot of online surfing because, you may be sending a payment information. You may be establishing a connection with a false, website, and this VPN can, prevent you from saying, no, we're not going there because that's not a legit place. We're going to this one. So, while all the while protecting your data that you're sending back and forth. But one thing to remember with the VPN is that it's point-to-point encryption. However, when you get to where you're going, you're no longer, protected by that VPN and stuff because it's establishing that connection. So it could be open in that respects to that site. So again, knowing what good sites are there and which ones are bad is important to.
And that also, and it also helps when you're trying to watch a game that's been blacked out locally.
Right. So you don't get your connection cut. Right. They can't tell where you're streaming from.
Yeah.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, those things can be used for nefarious things or for.
That's not nefarious. That's skirting the issue.
That is being.
I don't have tickets to the game.
Being flexible, creative.
Yeah, flexibility. Flexibility. It's all about flexibility.
No, VPNs are very good, and especially if you like to dabble on the onion side or the dark net or the black web or whatever they want to call it these days. They always push that. Hey, be on a VPN. If you're going to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid. I hear about the dark web, but I don't even know how to get to it.
No,
I don't even know what the website is.
I'm guaranteeing most of the kids. I taught my kids about it as well because I don't want them. I want them to understand how to poke around that sort of thing. If you're going to do that, you have a VPN and use the onion router that's provided. And there's a couple there, and ensure that it's always up to date. Another thing I like to do is that you use a computer that is got nothing on it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely nothing, just a browser. Because then it's not going to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so then you can see like all the other interesting things that are out there on the web.
See, I'm too afraid to go out to the, I go down the rabbit hole when I'm watching YouTube, and there's some weird stuff out there. There's one, it's like the Order of the Laughing Horse or something like that. And I watched this video on it. It's like, it's just out there. And it's like, I want to go see it, but I'm afraid to go see it because I don't know what's on it. There might be a virus. It might be something. It might give me epilepsy. I don't know.
Exactly. Or it could be a site that's being monitored for that reason or anything like that. So it's, you take your chances with that sort of thing. But at the same time, the point being is that you can protect yourself, and, you should, because you never know who's out there trying to get your traffic and get into your computer and then do something, something bad to you.
Have that removed. It's like, but keep your programs up to date. Keep your antivirus up to date. Get a VPN. Regularly back up your data. Yes. I mean, that's one of the things that normally you should be doing anyway, but nobody thinks of it on a daily basis.
No, because, at home especially, it's like I don't use my computer that much, but when I do, it's there, it's on, and nothing ever happens to it. But let's say you have a power outage, and okay, maybe the first time that doesn't hurt your computer, but it turns right back on. But maybe the second time it won't. Yeah,
every time you turn off the computer incorrectly, it can mess up. I mean, it's the difference between a little metal filing standing up or laying down. That's it.
Exactly. Or it's no longer there because it got burnt.
Oh, ouch.
And then having a backup will prevent a lot of headaches because now you can go get your data that you just recently had. So doing a backup and the frequency of it as well.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's on wireless nowadays. So just make sure that you got a good wireless security, passwords and network names, and
again, making and monitoring what's on it, because at home you could pick up all the neighbors' networks as well. So,
if you're close enough, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if you're in an apartment complex.
Well, if you got something that's even strong where I live, I'm almost an acre away from my neighbor across the street, and I can get his signal.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. And, so when you put your name on it, and then I know exactly whose house it is as well. So don't give your network your home name or put your address on it and just say, no.
Mine says FBI surveillance van.
Yeah, do something interesting, but don't give away who you are on top of that, because it's out there for everybody to see.
Yeah, especially with your ISP or internet service provider. There's a lot of initialisms and acronyms out there. So what would you do with email? Everyone gets inundated with email, and there's all different types of terms for these spam email. You got phishing and whaling and spear phishing and just wait until dynamite phishing comes out.
I think it already is, actually.
That's the easy way to fish.
It's tough. That's a tough environment because you get hit up with a lot of ads. That stuff is generated by ads and sites you visit. You agree to subscribe to them. You agree to get emails. And now you're inundated with a lot of advertisements, and you don't know if those are safe or they're not. But the great thing about, email these days is that Google's very good about saying, hey, I don't know if this is a good link. You look at the email and say, maybe you don't want to trust this site. I mean, obviously you see it on our computers at work,
Yeah.
You just don't get to go there. But at home, you don't have that security like we do here. So trust a little bit about what that program is trying to tell you. And if you don't know anything about that email, you didn't solicit that, you don't recognize the address, or look at the email address. Sometimes you can give it away that it's not a true google.com email. It's a Google / Germany then dot, HOM or MMM, and you're like, what is that? Some people don't even look at the email address and then go, meh.
I've seen disguised websites where it looks exactly like it, except that one of the letters in there is actually a different letter. So it looks exactly like what it's supposed to look like, but if you have to look closely at the letter, and it's like a one of the German B's that sound like an S, or
it's a long and very long email address, but in there they misspell a word just to make it one unique, and it looks like Netflix. Okay, instead of an E, let's make it a 3, and people don't catch on to that, and next thing you know, you're giving up your information.
You don't want to do that.
You got your password and your username right there.
And nobody will ever request your password in an email. Hey, just go to this and put in. No, if you get a link saying click here to go to verify your account,
right,
don't click the link. Go to the link that you know that you always go to.
Right.
So type it in yourself, or go to your bookmark and go there and do it.
Right.
The other one, everyone, especially coming up, because it's going to be Christmas this year, I believe. I think we have one every year.
Yeah, I think so. Usually at the end, but
usually. But online shopping, you want to make sure that that's secure.
Big.
You don't want to. So they still have the little lock, and you can see if it's secure.
Right.
Make sure that you've got
legit certifications on the website.
Absolutely.
Right? And then turn an HTTPS type environment, so that you're logged in, you're secure. But at the same time, a lot of times these websites, even if you're making a purchase, it'll ask you for your password again. It's really you. Let's authenticate that. A lot of people like to turn that off because they want a one-click shop type thing. Well, okay, but it's good, but don't apply that, that sort of train of thought to every site you go to, and turn off the password requirement, because next thing you know, they got your password and they got your account information, and they're going to start making purchases.
And especially if you got small kids in your house, don't have it saved. That way your kids go in there and they start buying everything. And it's like, why are we getting 50 pizzas?
No, or they have your credit card on their Xbox account, and you're like,
oh yes,
hey, how many games did you buy today? Or something like that. I think my stepson, when he was very young, I think he bought almost $2,000 worth of music.
Ouch.
Yeah, he'd just sit there all night long, just downloading and downloading, and thinking, well, they're only $1. Or they're $1.99, and just music, and oh my God, we're like, what? Yeah. So
you are
lesson
off.
learned. Lesson learned.
You should use instead of putting in your personal financial stuff, use a PayPal, Venmo, Cash App.
Right. Because unfortunately, my wife and I were a victim of that sort of thing, where we use the card at maybe on an on-site online site, or an app at a store, and next thing you know, we wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got messages just saying, "Hey, you just made these 2 large purchases." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I was asleep." And come to find out, somebody had bought 2 tickets to a concert, and it must have been a great concert, because each ticket was almost $800, right? Or they were sitting up right at the front, if not on the stage with them, and then bought insurance. And the scam is that you're making the purchase, you're buying the insurance because you're going to cancel it, and you're going to get your money sent to you, right, or cashed out. So the point was that the bank was helpless in turning off that and stopping that transaction and giving our money back. Oh, by the way, this was the first day of vacation, right? So immediately discovered, hey, our bank is not helping us, and they're not very cybersecurity wise, because they can't stop somebody's transaction while in progress. I'm like, no, we're changing banks and we're getting our money back. And it took a good 30, 40 days for that fight to come to an end.
Dang.
And that was close to $2,000. So yes, use different apps that separate your financial institutions' information, and provide, separate that money, so that if something like that does happen, it's not going to go anywhere once it's zero.
PayPal has that purchase protection.
Yep.
So it's
right.
if you don't get it, or if something happens, it's
or test
refunded.
Test it. A lot of times, like even when you're sending money to people, like my mom, I was going to give her some money, and instead of going through the bank and wiring it, I said, yeah, I can do this, but I'm going to test it first by sending you just $1 or 25 cents. And you tell me if you can get to it, because one, she's technically challenged and never used something like that. And I said, and I want you to tell me how you got there and if you see it. And if you do, then it works. If you don't see it, then I'm not sending money that way.
Now, I've seen something out there. It's called IoT, the Internet of Things.
Right. We talked about that earlier.
What is that?
That is about every device being tied into your network.
Okay.
You know
So
what I mean?
it's our online lives. Everything is just going online.
Yeah, exactly. You know, your stove, your refrigerator, everything is tied to that network, so
It's true.
you can have access to what's going on.
My oven, my refrigerator.
I know when it's time to change the filter. I know when the laundry's done.
Thermostat.
Right. You know, your dishwasher's finished washing. And on top of that, hey, your TV is tied to your phone as well because, you know, you can share everything on your phone to the TV or vice versa.
Now, every year we have Cybersecurity Awareness Week or month.
Next month, yeah.
And that would be October?
That's correct.
October. So everybody out there that's hearing us, please, hey, give us a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you do or what's a good practice that we should do.
Definitely, because there's plenty of stuff out there. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who are very innovative in cybersecurity.
Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Yeah,
definitely. There you go.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate you coming in.
No, absolutely.
And I always like talking to people and stuff that interests me, and computers and technology always interest me.
Something that's a part of our daily lives.
Yeah.
Now.
And it's getting more and more integral. I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely,
and I'll have you back in again. Of course, this is one of my first repeat customers here. Repeat.
Got the coffee cup.
Yeah, all of my listener out there will enjoy it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, all right. I appreciate it. And I am Jeff England from the Fort Johnson Public Affairs Office. This has been the Fort Johnson Podcast. I'm glad that you tuned in, and we'll be listening at you later.
That was easy.